The SEC was absolute bananas. We've got one more regular season weekend that remains before David Kahn and myself, Kyle Schassburger, will be in Hoover on the road for games beginning next Tuesday as conference tournaments galore will consume all of college baseball. And here we're podcasting on a Monday night count. 2 weeks from tonight, we will have a field. We will have a bracket, a field of 64. Everyone will be listening on Tuesday morning, of course, this week. But inside of 2 weeks, to have a bracket and 64 teams set. I don't know, man, but I feel like after the SEC's weekend, there might be 12 teams that get in. We'll get to that. We'll compare. Well, I know you.
And I totally disagree with you. I totally disagree with that.
Okay. All right. Well, I asked you to provide and present some homework. We'll get to that coming up on Tuesday's show. There was a shakeup in the top 8. My surefire lock in Wake Forest. Not only did it hit in gargantuan fashion as the Deeks swept away the Clemson Tigers this past weekend in Winston-Salem. And no need to really drill down on our Power 10, I don't think, Tom. We'll just weave that into our field of 64 projections as we compare notes. And we'll do that over the next 40 minutes or so because it's late on a Monday. I got a beverage, and it's ginger ale.
Oh, ginger ale.
Getting a little weird with ginger ale.
Wait a minute. Okay, wait. Canada Dry, Verner's. What are we talking here?
Canada Dry.
Okay. Have you had Verner's ginger ale before? Do I need to put you on to Verner's ginger ale?
Never heard of it.
Okay, it was made in Detroit. It is the best ginger ale out there. I promise you. You can find it especially at Publix. I think it's at other grocery stores, but you can definitely find it at Publix. It is amazeballs.
Verner's, how do I spell that so I can get a visual?
Vernor.
Verner's ginger ale. Typing it into the Google machine now. I have never had Verner's. And you said it's a Detroit native. You would think my Chicago Midwestern roots would would have picked up on that at some point in my life. We were big as a kid, RC Cola was huge. I don't know if,
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember too, as the fat kid that I was growing up, I'd always sneak into the pop fridge, and I would army crawl at times trying to avoid my uncle when I was staying the night with my cousins, and we would have long weekends, playing video games and sports and all that, and taking over grandma's house. And my fat 230-pound ass in 6th grade, trying to not make a single ruckus or stirring that would cause my uncle to go stone cold Steve Austin on me. In his bedroom, the basement, I would literally army crawl against this filthy concrete basement floor that was just caked with dog hair and eventually cat hair at one point, but I think this was before the cats. And I would get into the fridge and try to then secure a couple of orange soda, grape soda, ginger ale. A lot of this was the store brand stuff. I'd sometimes be able to put 3 in my chest somehow, probably in my fat folds now that I think back to it, and army crawl my way back into the cousin bedroom. So I don't know if you have any similar experiences to share.
Not swiping sodas out of the pantry. My more mischievous side as a youngster was me and one of my best friends. We know each other since we were 2 years old. Her name's Emily. I was at her wedding earlier this year. We actually used to crawl under the table during big family gatherings and steal everybody's shoes off of their feet and then go hide them. But we would army crawl under the table, take very carefully, yank the shoes off of the people's feet who were inebriated and couldn't feel it. And then we would go hide them around the house. So then they would get up and go, "What the fuck?" And there'd be no shoes on their feet. It was a lot of fun.
Solid prank. I like that. David Kahn and I, you can follow us on Twitter, on X, at SportsCon4. I'm at Kyle Schass. This is Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. We'll have another episode coming up on Thursday, and then we'll bring you one late Sunday, early Monday morning before we hit the road to Hoover. Again, we're a week away from that. Dudes, hat tips, SDAs before we get out of here as well, and we will compare our field to 64 projections. Kahn and I tonight, and then we'll see what D1 did when they come out with theirs on Thursday. But this happened over the weekend, Kahn, and I think we might have provided the TKO to the East Carolina Pirates.
1 ball and 1 strike. Swinging ground ball, fair ball down the first baseline. Here comes Lynn. Can you believe it? Connor Rasmussen walks it off on his former team. Hit the lights. Close the doors, lock the gates. Turchin Stadium is closed for 2024. and the home season ends in spine-tingling fashion. That is a sweep of the number 6 team in the nation, and the former Pirates, with one more swing of the bat, slams a dagger into the Pirates' hearts.
Corey Galore on the Tulane Sports Network. Chilling stuff for a Tulane alumnus, I'm sure, right, Mr. Kahn? Especially when it's an ECU transfer now in green wave attire, providing that final death nail to complete the sweep.
Oh my God. What a weekend in New Orleans. And yes, I'm donning the Slugger Bird attire right now. Tulane is back, baby. We are here. Sweep of East Carolina, the number 6 team in the country. They actually had 2 walk-offs, Schass, by the way, in that weekend. Colin Tuft with a hit by pitch in game 1 in the 9th on Friday, and then game 3, just heard it, Connor Rasmussen walks it off to win it in game 3, complete the sweep. He went 6 for 12 in that series against his former team with 4 runs batted in. He has just been a transformation year over year. At ECU last year, he only played in 17 games and had 2 hits in 18 at-bats. Now with the Wave, hitting .317, 5 homers, 43 RBIs in 52 games for the Pirate-turned Green Wave. What a weekend. We certainly provided the TKO, unfortunately, having Cliff Godwin on last week, talking to him about this series coming up in New Orleans, if there was any, adverse feelings towards the Wave after what happened in Clearwater last year. He said no, just another team on the schedule. Well, Tulane certainly didn't feel that way. They wanted to assert themselves against East Carolina, and they did in sweeping fashion. ECU goes down, hurts themselves tremendously being a top 8 national seed, and now Tulane, yeah, that's right. Put on that hat that I gave you, boy. Yeah, Slugger
Looks
Bird.
good, baby. Looks
yes,
good.
Sir. Yes, sir. So now Tulane goes to Charlotte this weekend, and your boy will be in attendance for 2 of those games to watch the Wave continue to power into the postseason. Let's go.
I was planning on attending one of those games with you, but Pudge has had a softball game rescheduled for Saturday. So weather permitting, of course. So you enjoy that. I will not be there partaking in one of those. You'll get 2 of them in. Those Slugger Birds are phenomenal. We've talked about this before with uniforms, but like the Slugger Bird powder blues, the one thing I don't understand, and it is one of my favorite jersey tops, is, and it's probably different for you because you're a Green Wave, what's the word?
Fanatic?
Yeah, fanatic a little. Like, you understand the culture, you understand the program a lot more. But I feel like a lot of people that people aren't connected to Tulane, and when they see the Slugger Bird and the powder blues, their eyes immediately go to the dark army green. And it's like, why are we wearing that to accent it? Because it's different. It kind of stands out. It's like, we can't do anything better. But I understand that that's the look. That's just how it's done. And even when you look at the Slugger Bird, and you combine it with the powder blues, which are so dominant up top above the waistline, the bird is wearing a more Tulane dark green. What would we call that accent? Does it have
olive? It's olive and blue.
Okay.
The official colors of Tulane are olive and blue.
Yeah. So it's just a little bit of head jerker. You just got to do a little double take sometimes initially, but it's still smooth. It's a great look. And I know, it's something so unique to Tulane and something they, have endeared themselves to. So, and everyone loves it. So good. I am rocking the hat that you produced and delivered to me a couple of years ago when you had filled in for Sir Corey Glore. So friend of the program. For sure. Cliff Godwin got ran on Saturday night. I was driving back from Clayton after a dinner.
Oh, yes,
listening to one Scott Rogers, the scooter, friend of the program as well, the ECU Sports Network. And by the way, I'm supposed to fill in for him tomorrow on the Campbell game. He's a little under the weather after traveling back from NOLA. Can't blame him. After a 3-game sweep on Bourbon Street, that's depressing stuff. So he's come back and he has made a call to the bullpen to your boy. However, we got more rain all week in North Carolina. It will not stop, and it's already started tonight. It's going to go overnight into the morning. I don't think there's a chance ECU and Campbell are going to play at 6:00 tomorrow, but fingers crossed. Maybe I can get a rep in before Hoover. But yeah, Cliff Godwin, I don't know if you have the details Saturday as to why I could not figure it out. And I was, trying to rummage through the social spheres afterwards, and there weren't a lot of details. But it was classic Cliff Godwin, and it was great lip reading material. That's for sure, as he got ran the 8th inning of Saturday's game.
Yeah, it was. And I don't have the details. I should have asked Corey about that when we corresponded this morning as he tries to hook me up with pass list details for Friday and Saturday in the Queen City. Here's the thing. Before this weekend, I would have told East Carolina, why are you playing this game against Campbell? Now I think they kind of need to. Right?
Yeah.
Like they just got knocked out of the top 8 national seed picture. Like that's for sure. You're not going to stay in. They were number 6. You're not going to stay in now after losing to a 3-game series to Tulane. I know it's on the road, but like you're just not going to stay in the fold. Beating Campbell would help you get back in. But if they don't play that game tomorrow, this isn't going to be one of those games where ECU cancels it due to, whatever weather and quote unquote weather. This could be actual weather because it is supposed to downpour the rest of this week in North Carolina and could just wreak havoc on all these midweek games that are scheduled, whether we think they should even play them or not. There's already been a few that have been called off for various reasons. RPI. So I think ECU actually kind of wants to play tomorrow, which is very different from how they felt going into New Orleans on Friday. Yeah,
Campbell's RPI is at 84, but they're breaking in new digs this year playing in the CAA. It's not the Big South. This isn't the Campbell team that we're accustomed to seeing per se, just because they're up in weight class in terms of their league schedule. I mean, they're 8th. Yeah, I got them in a tie for 8th place in the Coastal Athletic, a league that is currently led by UNCW. Charleston's won 8 of their last 10. They're in second. We detailed some of those matchups this past weekend, that Charleston and Northeastern matchup, which Charleston did take 2 out of 3, correct? Yeah, they lost the opener 14-11, came back, won 18-5, 6-3. So they're firmly in second place, a half game back of UNCW. It's a 2-horse race for the regular season title, with Northeastern now 4 back, but Campbell all the way down at 8. So it's not the same. This isn't your mother's or your father's Campbell team, but they've made a transition. Still, that RPI is inside of 100. It's not going to bottom you out. That is, to your point, a productive midweek game for a team like ECU, who's going to need some additional data points now following the slide of this past weekend. And that might be a good transition for us to, talk about a little bit of the movement and what the SEC presented us and the ACC. I mean, hell, Florida State lost 2 games to Pitt this past weekend. A team
and
that's
possibly their stadium.
Okay, you got to you this.
You didn't see this?
No, you got to
explain. A tornado ran through Tallahassee on Friday. Florida State Stadium got wrecked.
No, I missed that. Yeah. So you're going to have to reveal. Yeah, I don't have those details. So what happened?
Okay. All right. So tornado ran through Tallahassee on Friday, and right field got ravaged by this tornado. There's a mesh fence either above the outfield wall or behind the outfield wall. I couldn't quite tell from the pictures, but it is completely bent over, up against a couple of trees, and the right field foul pole is bent all the way over to the right. So I don't know how much other damage was sustained, but there was significant damage done to Dick Howser Stadium. Now, I don't know, how quickly they can get this remedied or what else is going on, but they're supposed to host this weekend because they were at Pitt, like you said. They lost 2 of 3 in Pittsburgh to a really bad Pitt team. By the way, that's bad for Florida State. That will also knock them out of the top 8 national seed picture for right now. But I mean, the more pressing concern is Florida State was expected to host. If Dick Howser Stadium is inhospitable, or that's not the right word, some word for, unable to host.
Unplayable.
Yeah, unplayable. If Dick Howser Stadium is unplayable, inhabitable is the word I was looking for.
Look at you struggle with words.
Hey,
don't look to me for any help. I got no guidance.
It's 9:30 on a Monday. All right, I'm a little weary.
I'm drinking ginger ale. Amen, brother.
If Dick Howser Stadium can't house fans and the field isn't ready for play, what's Florida State going to do? Where are they going to play? We don't know.
I'm looking at videos of this now. Yeah, I completely missed it. So Friday night, budget game, we went over to Buddy's for some food, drinks, fellowship, all that good stuff. So trying to catch up on a lot of the weekend. I was locked into what was going on in the SEC. I had Georgia and that just juggernaut of an
Oh my
offense might be the
God.
most feared offense in the entire country right now. They put up 39 runs in the sweep of South Carolina at Founders Park, put themselves not only squarely into the top 16 picture, but this team, if they can take 2 out of 3 from Florida this weekend, they're a top 8 national seed. Let's go, baby. Let's go. I mean, Charlie Condon homers for an 8th straight game. Trey Phelps, the freshman sensation, with his buns undone on top. He's got a little tweaking Deacon, Cole Rowland effect going to him. He homered in every single game this weekend, had 2 homers in Thursday night's affair that was just bonkers. Our favorite announcer was on the call, too, and Ravi's kid. But I'm looking now at Dick Hauser Stadium on Twitter, and, yeah, right field is just getting completely it's obliterated. Like that screen, that upper echelon? I don't know if that's echelon. That's not the correct way to describe the fence, but that second layer beyond the padded wall is what is being pushed over and folded back. So, as of 6 hours ago, when I'm seeing the most recent update here late on a Monday night, they don't know. There's no word if they're going to be able to play baseball there. So I don't know where the alternative site will be.
The thing about it is, like, here's the thing. I'm wondering if for regional weekend, if the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp are out of town, the minor league team nearby, they could play there. They could go to one of the numerous, other universities in Florida that have a baseball stadium that aren't hosting regionals. North Florida, Jacksonville University. They could go all the way down the state, like Florida Atlantic or something like that. Like, there's possibilities. But
but this weekend they're supposed to be home.
I know. I don't know what they're going to do this weekend. I would imagine maybe they'll say, "Hey, Georgia Tech, can you host us in Atlanta instead?" So that would be my thought. They're not going to cancel the games.
Yeah, no.
Anyways, Florida State, besides the stadium notwithstanding, losing 2 of 3 at Pitt, that just can't happen. First of all, this is like Wake going to Notre Dame and losing 2 of 3. Like, they weren't supposed to do that. Like that just, you needed to win. Wake needed to win that series, and Florida State needed to win this series. Pitt is the worst team in the ACC. You could argue Boston College as well, but like Pitt and BC are bottom barrel of the ACC. Not going to make the ACC tournament probably. They're 8-19 each. Like, that's a really, really, really bad series loss for the Noles.
Florida State falls to number 10 in the new top 25 poll. So Tennessee at 1. They nearly swept Vanderbilt. Credit Vanderbilt for coming back. Sunday's game, shutting Tennessee out for the first time all year, was the final 3-0, and not a single extra base hit. That's never happened to this Volunteer offense all year long. But Vanderbilt continues to scuffle. They didn't get swept like the weekend before against Georgia, but still, they only come away with 1 win. They're maybe narrowly on the right side of the bubble at this time, and Vanderbilt has Kentucky coming up this weekend. But Tennessee remains number 1, 42-10, 3-1 week. Kentucky at 2. Good on the Wildcats, and going down to Gainesville, what was an absolutely bonkers series. I mean, some of the wildest stuff I've ever consumed as a baseball spectator, viewer, listener over the weekend. I listened to a lot of both sides of that radio feed, both Kentucky, both Florida, on television, any way I could. I mean, a lot of Florida won the middle game 10-1. That was the only game that they had, but they blew a lead late in game 1. A game that I think ended up going to the 10th inning too, right? But, I mean, their bullpen and they have no bullpen. Like, you and I were texting yesterday, if they had any semblance of a bullpen, like just somebody other than Brandon Neely, I mean, this team is a national title contender.
Neely wasn't good on Sunday.
Yeah, and he didn't give them anything on Sunday either, which was another game that was just, I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Here's the crazy thing about that series. And also, I want the headline of the SEC from this past weekend is almost every series could have gone the other way. Georgia and Georgia, South Carolina not included, because Georgia they sent South Carolina to the wood chipper. That was amazing by the Bulldogs to go into Columbia. They've won 8 in a row, back-to-back sweeps of Vandy and South Carolina. Schass, they've outscored opponents 74-32 in those last 2 SEC series. That's an average of 7 runs per game and a margin of victory. That's insane. So Georgia's on another level right now. They're the hottest team in the conference, one of the hottest in the country, no doubt about it. But Tennessee took 2 of 3 from Vandy, but the Vols needed a 5-run rally in game 1 in the 8th, a 4-run rally in the 6th in game 2. Texas A&M lost again. Second straight series on the road they lose at Ole Miss 2 out of 3. However, the Aggies blew a 2-0 and a 3-2 lead in game 1, and they won game 3 6-0. So they could have easily won that series. Kentucky and Florida, the bonkers series of the weekend. 2 extra inning games, Kentucky won. Florida's bullpen in those 2 games, 12.27 ERA, 15 earned runs in 11 innings. Hellacious. And Sunday, I want to talk about Sunday because Sunday, I think, was just pure, unadulterated madness. First of all, Cags, brilliant. Just exceptional in his final home start at Condren Ballpark. 6 1/3, 2 hits, 1 earned, 3 Ks. And then you go to the 9th inning. Kentucky's up 1. Tyler Shelnut, solo homer, ties the game in the 9th inning. And you go, oh, Florida has a chance to win the series. They can do it. They can beat Kentucky. This could turn Florida's entire season around because they are right on that bubble and they are right on that 500 plateau right now. They're 1 game up right now. But then in the top of the 10th, Shelnut is the one that makes the costly fielding judgment error that allows multiple runs to score. Kentucky puts 4 up, and they hang on to win 7-5.
He was playing a little shallow too, right? Yeah, and the ball just went over his head and cleared the bases.
Well, he stepped in too. Like if you watch the replay, his first initial step was in, and cardinal sin of baseball, your first step is never, ever in. But he was the hero, and then he's the GOAT. And it just when you thought things were going to break right,
not
for
the
Florida,
good, not the good GOAT.
No, not Tom Brady. Rug pulled out from under the Gators again. Yes, of course. Rug pulled out from under them. Gators lose. And like, like, here's the thing. I said this when Florida started this gauntlet. I don't think Florida's going to win another series the rest of the year. And that's probably going to come true. They're not going to Athens and winning 2 out of 3. It's just not going to happen. Georgia's too damn hot right now. But here's the thing. The Gators, if they lose 2 out of 3, but win 1, they will go into Hoover at 500. Squarely.
Yeah, needing at least a win.
To win. Yeah. So every single game in Hoover will matter for Florida. They're going to Hoover no matter what. That's locked in. But whether they have anything to play for is all dependent on what happens in Athens this weekend. If Georgia sweeps Florida, they're done. It's over. Like, season's done.
Yeah. So Auburn mathematically eliminated from Hoover. Missouri still has an outside shot. It's still a little unclear with me with Florida, though. They have to be above 500, right? Like they can't win one. Well, I guess if they win, because they're going to be playing on Tuesday. So if they win, then they're going to be put into.
Did they schedule a game? I didn't see.
No. I'm not talking. I'm talking about Tuesday and Hoover. They don't have the midweek game. Yeah. So they're gonna have 2 games. They're gonna be guaranteed 3 as long as they win one.
Yes. If they win Tuesday, they'll be guaranteed 2 more.
Right. So
that would help.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you got to win.
I believe they need to at least win 1 against Georgia and then win 1 in Hoover to get to regionals. Otherwise, they're done.
Yeah.
I believe that's the rule.
That's why Cags time to program record 30-game hitting streak. So he has a chance to extend that at Foley Field against Georgia coming up this weekend. I mean, that series had guys getting thrown out at the plate, guys getting thrown off, trying to steal, getting into a pickle. Kentucky has that play that they run where the guy falls down on first and third between first and second. And at one point, this was in Sunday's game, Florida snuffed it out. And they ended up getting the would-be base runner scoring at home.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of chirping between those 2 teams, I told you, these 2 teams need to play again in Hoover because it was chippy. The chirping was at an all-time high. I mean, Kentucky has a style to them, and because they actually have the record and the resume, maybe they have the best resume in the country right now to back it up. Like, really, we'll look at our projections in a minute. Like, I might have Tennessee at 1, but I think it should be Kentucky for projecting it out just because they have the best, resume in all of college baseball. The body of work over start to finish from February into now, Kentucky has it. But, and I haven't believed in them necessarily, but like, how can you not at this point? Because they just keep winning and they have this swagger and this attitude and they just, this chippiness, whether it's small ball or long ball. I mean, it's, the cheering in the dugout, the choreographed emotions. It's like got a small Vanderbilt, kind of flavor to it in some ways. Like that's how Kentucky's playing.
So you're saying Kentucky needs their own Vandy Whistler?
They do.
Okay.
But
all right.
I remember watching a
I
Midweek
agree.
game earlier this year. They had their own thing going on in the dugout, their own like cheer
Yeah.
at the same time. It was like Little League.
Yeah, well, it wasn't Kentucky the team that did the baby shark thing in the dugout a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So, like, they have their own stuff. Like they've got stuff going
Yeah.
on. We'll have to investigate when we get down to Hoover next week. Also, did you see the home run robbery by Hayden Yost? Holy smokes. That was like the play of the year for Florida. Oh my goodness. He robbed James McCoy of a surefire homer. It was awesome. Absolute insane play by Hayden Yost. Look that up as I continue my explanation of why the SEC was so topsy-turvy. So we talked about A&M and Ole Miss. We talked about Kentucky, Florida. We talked about Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Arkansas could have lost that series to Mississippi State at home this week. They won 2 out of 3, but all 3 games were decided by 3 runs or less. In game 1, Arkansas needed 3 runs in the 8th inning to take the lead, and Mississippi State loaded the bases with nobody out in the 9th, but Arkansas survived. Game 2, Mississippi State won. Game 3, Mississippi State took a 6-0 lead after 3 and then bottomed out, and Arkansas scored 9 unanswered runs to win it. But Arkansas is starting pitching. Hagen Smith got 11 Ks, but he only lasted 5 innings. Mason Molina, horrible. 1 inning, gone. Brady Tigert, inning and 2/3, 4 runs, gone. Like, it's really good to see Arkansas be able to win offensive ball games, but their starting pitching's been their backbone all year. And if they don't have that going into the postseason, they're in serious trouble.
They will blow it up this weekend. I have no doubt in my mind. It'll be Hagen Smith on Thursday.
Yeah.
In College Station against Texas A&M, coming off an outing that was his worst since the season opener against James Madison. I mean, he went 5 innings, as you said. He still got his double-digit strikeout performance, which was the 10th such outing of the year for him. But he was tagged for, I think, 3 runs. 3 earned runs. So,
4. 4 runs, 3 earned.
Yeah, might have been 4, 3 earned. And so he'll take the ball on Thursday. But Dave Van Horn has some serious, questions and a serious situation, at his hands. And Arkansas fans are seeking those answers, those resolutions. Yeah. They're very loud in numbers. And it is a very valid and outwardly spoken talking point in the Razorback baseball circles right now is, what are you going to do with your starting pitching? And I think Gage Wood is the first guy that you got to look to. So the fact that the sophomore came in, bases loaded in game 1, like you said, gets a strike, I think it was 2 ground balls or a fly out and a ground ball, and then a strikeout, and Mississippi State strands him in the 9th when they load him with no outs, and Wood comes in and then he shows up again and has to help stop the bleeding in relief of Mason Molina on Sunday. Now, he ended up giving up 4 runs, 2 of them earned across 3 innings, but Gage Wood has been a very consistent presence who has kind of been carving himself out more of a long-term role for the future based on the way he's pitching this year as a young sophomore. Like, he would be that guy that Arkansas, would project as a starter next year. Well, what better time than right now with the present to shake some things up and to move him into a starting role, whether that's game 2 or game 3. But he's 3-1 with a 3.03 ERA this season, 29 2/3, 25 hits he's allowed. I mean, he's been pretty consistent. So I think Gage Wood, even Will McIntyre, he's been that consistent Swiss Army knife at the back of the bullpen. He hasn't been the Will McIntyre from the first half of the season over the last few weeks. The second half, I guess you could say he's labored through some outings, but still he showed some flashes of brilliance this past weekend as well. And it's just those starters. It's Tiger and Molina, and it's setting Arkansas up for they nearly came back in game 2 with Tiger pitching too. And that helped give them the confidence in game 3 when it was 6-0 to know, hey, we're not dead. We're not dead yet. And Hudson White, who came with Mason Molina from Texas Tech, his personal catcher, who has started most of the games behind the plate this year, his bat is finally coming around. He homered on opening day against James Madison, and now has homered 3 times in the last 5 games and hadn't homered before that at all since opening day. So he's more loose. And his insertion in the lineup is certainly paying dividends as well. Kendall Diggs, though, who's expected to be the biggest slugger, power, run producer of this lineup, he jammed his shoulder against McNeese. It's been bothering him all season long. He got taken out of the lineup, actually benched. Well, not benched, but just because of his health I think it was more of a DH situation in game 1 this weekend. I mean, that's something to continue to monitor because the dude just continues to strike out. And I know a lot of fans are calling for him to take a seat. So we'll see. Arkansas has a lot of answers, but still, they took 2 out of 3 to your point. They found a way to win. They're right there at number 3 in the top 25 rankings. Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, Clemson, who was swept at Wake, is at 4, and Texas A&M salvaged one game, making a change with their game 3 starter at Ole Miss. I think the Rebels have played their way into the tournament.
I agree. Shane Sadeo, by the way, got that start for A&M in the finale. He was awesome. 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 6 Ks. Talking about an important series this weekend, let me take you down to Baton Rouge, which, by the way, I sent you this on Twitter right before we started. I don't know if you saw it. The College World Series Jello Shot Challenge is coming to Fred's in Tigerland in Baton Rouge this weekend, and they are going to be they're coming loaded hot with 2,500 Jello shots, which are going to be gone before game 1 even starts, by the way. They need to make like 50,000 more of those. The Tigerland at Fred's is going to be jam-packed this weekend. 2,500 is not enough. But love that they're doing that. They're donating it to Food Bank in Baton Rouge as they did during the College World Series last year. Phenomenal stuff. Great job by Kevin Colgett and his team. We hope to have Kevin on again, by the way, before the College World Series begins to tell us what's new for Jello Shot Challenge year number 3. But LSU and Ole Miss in Baton Rouge this weekend. Massive, titanic series because 2 things. Ole Miss is hot. They've won back-to-back series. LSU, we thought was trending in the right direction. And then they lose 2 of 3 to Alabama. Hurts their chances of being in the postseason because right now they're at 11 conference wins right now in the SEC. I think they're at 11 or 10. I think they're at 11, but excruciating fashion for LSU in a series they could have had because you look at what happened in game 1. They're up 7-3 in the 8th. And then in the 9th inning, walk, hit by pitch, swinging bunt error on the catcher. Alabama walks it off. And then Alabama also won game 3. So
won 2 one-run games.
Yeah. You lose 2 games by 1 run on the road, a series you could have had. And if LSU wins that series in Alabama, I think they're cemented in the field. But now I don't know that they're in at all. I think they need to win. If they don't win this series against Ole Miss, I don't think they can get in. I don't think they have enough. I know they play in the SEC. I know their RPI is good. I know their strength of schedule is good. But having 11 or 12 conference wins, can you really get in with that? I think
here's my prediction. So LSU, Alex Milazzo will make that throw 99.9% of the time at catcher, and he threw it down the line, 2 runs scored, ended the game on Friday. Would have changed the entire dynamic of this previous weekend in Tuscaloosa. Instead, LSU only gets the 1 win. They're 10-17. Game back Ole Miss, who's sitting at 11-16. I think LSU will take 2 out of 3 from Ole Miss, and they'll each have identical records, 12 and 18, heading into Hoover. Which my dude, it's going to be an absolute bloodbath next week.
I can't wait.
An absolute bloodbath. The series,
the Tuesday games are going to mean so much.
So much. It's in Baton Rouge this weekend. LSU will have the home field advantage. Crowd on their side. Yeah, Ole Miss is playing a lot better right now. I mean, you take 2 out of 3 of the first 2 from the Aggies. I mean, it's intense. It's down to the wire, man. I mean, this is just sheer entertainment in the finest way. I cannot wait. Yes. Anything else to touch on from the SEC? I was kind of rolling through the top 25 and some of the changes. Let me just round out top 10. Oregon State 6, North Carolina 7, Wake Forest off the sweep at 8, Georgia up to 9 this week. They jumped 6 spots from 15 last week. And then Florida State there at 10. Duke, Oklahoma, ECU tumbles 7 spots from 6 to 13 after suffering now an 0-4 week, but they've lost 5 games in a row for the first time since 2017. Arizona dropped the first game at Utah, took the next 2, so their lead widens in the Pac-12. They're at 14, and so those are some of the notables across the top.
So the only other thing I want to touch on in the SEC this weekend is that the SEC race for regular season champion is not undecided. Kentucky has a 1-game lead on Arkansas and Tennessee for the title. They own the tiebreaker over Arkansas, but not over Tennessee because the Vols went to Lexington and won that series. So Hoover's pretty much decided. Auburn's out. Missouri would need to sweep, and LSU would need to get swept for those two to flip. I don't see that happening. So for all intents and purposes, Missouri's out, LSU's in. Like that, unless something crazy happens. Here's the thing. Kentucky has not won an SEC regular season title outright ever. They won it in 2006, but they shared it with Alabama. And here's where it gets weird, because you go back to that 06 season, Kentucky won the SEC, bottomed out in the SEC tournament, and lost their regional at home. History does not bode well for a Kentucky team winning the SEC is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Now, that was 18 years ago, but still, they have never won a regular season title outright. So we'll see. This Kentucky team has the part of being the number one overall team in the country, deservedly could be the number one overall seed. They have the best resume in the country, no doubt about it. We'll see. Kentucky could lose this weekend, and all of a sudden Arkansas could win the SEC again. We don't know, but it's a razor thin margin of error in the SEC, and that's why this is the best conference in college baseball, because every little tiny inch matters in every single game in this conference. The margin for error is so slim in this conference.
Well, and I think when it comes down to the committee and selecting these teams, and we're going to have bid thieves, like it's going to happen, and we'll look at our projections here. This will be our segue into it. I think the committee just needs to take a long, hard look at the strength of the leagues in the ACC and the SEC and be like, look, we're going to have to, make some concessions here for what we normally say will get you in, or what the litmus test has been, or what the measurables of 13 league wins and an RPI inside of 40, or, 12 league wins and winning at least a game or two in the conference tournament. I mean, when you look at the ACC and the SEC, I mean, come on, what are we really talking about when we're parsing through these? I know it makes me sound like a homer, but like it's the legit, it's the truth. I mean, top to bottom. Yeah. I mean, maybe more than ever this year. Look at the SEC. Look at what the ACC is doing. And I've got 8 teams out of the ACC projected in my field. And I put 12 SEC teams, David Kahn.
Not happening.
I think it's not, but it should. I think a deeper look should be put into those teams, because you're telling me that an at-large, and I'm going to insult somebody here, but let's look at I've got Kansas into my field of 64. Now, maybe they're more deserved. Okay, well, let me go to.
I have Kansas State.
I have Indiana. I have 3. Okay, you have Kansas State over Kansas. So whatever your last Big 12 team getting in is.
TCU.
Okay, I don't have TCU in there. So, I mean, here we go. We're learning about each other. I got 5 Big 12 teams in. Who are yours?
I have 6. Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Texas. I think we share those.
Yes.
And then I have Kansas State and TCU as 5 and 6.
Okay. And I've got just Kansas. So, yeah, one of those teams could steal the bid. For the basis of my argument, you think TCU deserves in. You're saying TCU is more deserving to be in the field than LSU at this moment, is what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay. Why?
I understand the SEC is a much tougher schedule, but if you're going to play in the toughest league, you got to perform in the toughest league. And LSU hasn't performed, plain and simple. I mean, LSU's, if you want to compare like all of the strength of schedule and the RPI, LSU's better. Like, I get it.
But not much better. I'm looking at it. LSU's RPI is at 33. TCU is at 38.
Right. So and that's my point.
Yeah.
That you beat me to my point, is the fact that like the metrics for LSU are certainly better, but they're not that much better. And so, you take a look at LSU, who has 10 conference wins right now, and TCU has 13. So, and then TCU 30 and 17 overall, and LSU is 33 and 20. So like they're both similar. TCU's performed better in arguably like a weaker conference, quote unquote, but straw's got to break somewhere. And if I'm following precedent, which, like you said, maybe the league will have to change precedent with the amount of, how tough the SEC has been this year, because it's been an absolute grinder. I can't put an LSU team in that I think is going to have 11 or maybe 12 wins in the SEC. The teams with that record don't get in. They just don't.
So LSU has
maybe I'm relying too much on history. Maybe I am. But
yeah, you are.
That's where I'm coming from.
But that's why it's history. That's why it's precedent. Like there is a certain rule, a certain approach, certain principles that the committee falls back on, and that's what you're siding with. I'm taking the approach as the contrarian that I try to be, and that I naturally am. It's not that I try; I just am. In being a devil's advocate, is hey, let's break precedent, because you look at LSU and they've got 15 wins inside the top 2 quadrants, whereas TCU only has 8. LSU has twice as many wins inside the top 2 quadrants. And again, that speaks to the strength of schedule. And LSU naturally is going to have that because they play in the SEC, which is a much deeper league, you know?
But can you fault TCU for not playing SEC teams? Like, no, they'd have to play them in the non-con.
No, but another point I would make about TCU is, I mean, they got off to such a fast start, right? What was it? Let's see.
Yeah, they started 11-0, 12-0, something like that, 13-0 maybe.
I've got them at 13-0. 13-0 after a midweek win over Abilene Christian, 4-0. Okay, since that point they went. Let's see, 2, 3,
17.
They went
17.
2 and 3. Yeah. You do the math. So
500. Yeah, like it's picking straws. Okay, like LSU certainly a deserving team. I'm going off precedent because we're trying to predict what we think the NCAA committee is going to do, and I think the NCAA committee, because of the fact that they sternly follow the RPI, even though they say they don't, they do, is going to continue to follow precedent. And so I'm going to go with what history. I'm going to side with history is basically what I'm trying to say.
Okay, let's roll through the 16 that we have, and then just maybe note some of your projections or regions as they fall into place. Here's my 1 through 16. So this is how we're doing our Power 10. I'll just give you my 16 sites as we each did the exercise of putting together our field of 64 NCAA tournament bracket, and we'll see how it lines up with what D1 baseball comes out later this week on Thursday. I've got Kentucky at number 1. I just think they have the better body of work. Tennessee at 2, Arkansas at 3. I moved North Carolina up to a 4 after their series over Louisville. I mean, they have a strong hold on not just the Coastal, but they're chasing down Clemson right now. And I told you, I think a couple of weeks ago, I think UNC ended up winning this league. So UNC at 4, Oregon State at 5, Texas A&M at 6, Georgia 8. My final national top 8 seed, where a super regional would run through this school's home ballpark and on-site location, would be Clemson. So Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, UNC, Oregon State, Texas A&M, Georgia, Clemson are my top national 8 seeds.
Okay.
What about you?
Kentucky 1, Tennessee 2, Arkansas 3, North Carolina 4. We agree. I have A&M 5th. I have Clemson 6th. I have Georgia 7th. And then I have Oklahoma 8th as my top 8 national seed.
So you don't have Oregon State in there?
I have Oregon State as a host, not a top 8.
Okay. So we have half of it.
If they win the Pac-12,
sure,
they're a top 8, 100%. But right now, based off of what they've done, and they just had a great 4-0 week. They swept UCLA, won against Gonzaga in the midweek. They're trending up, and I put them rightfully so back into the hosting picture because of that, because they were a 2 seed in the latest field from D1 baseball. So they're in the field of hosting, and I think they're going to host. But I don't have them as a top 8 yet. I think they could get there, but I don't have them there yet.
So the unique thing is I have a collection of ACC schools all bunched together, and Clemson at 8, Florida State at 9. Remember, Florida State lost the series to Clemson, and then Wake Forest lost the series to Florida State, but they did just sweep Clemson. But Clemson came in with a better overall body of work before getting swept by Wake Forest this past weekend. And the Deacs are trying to correct some of their woes, including a series loss at Notre Dame just a few weeks ago. So Wake Forest is at 10, following Clemson and Florida State. ECU falls to 11, just narrowly ahead of Duke at 12, who dropped a series this past weekend at Georgia Tech. You know, that was one of those situations where last team who was up to bat. In this case, you know, it was the Yellow Jackets were going to win that series. Oklahoma at 13. I definitely think that's low. They should be higher. But again, this was a difficult exercise going through all of these teams for sure.
My brain hurts.
Yeah. My brain is short circuiting even still at this moment as we've been podcasting into 45 minutes. So Arizona, Mississippi State, and Indiana State. I've got the Sycamores in as a 16 seed, so just right there on the cut line of being a host. Mississippi State at 15 and Arizona ahead at 14. So how's your final 8 shake out?
So I'll tell you right now, I don't have Duke or Arizona hosting right now. They're both 2 seeds, but I don't have them hosting. So my 10 is Florida State. Sorry, my number 9 is Indiana State. They continue to win, so I don't see any reason to knock them down from where they were in the field last week. So I have Indiana State at 9. I have FSU at 10. East Carolina also at 11. 12 is Oregon State for me. Virginia at 13. You don't have them. Mississippi State at 14. You have them. 15 for me is UC Irvine. I have my 2 West teams are Oregon State and UC Irvine. You have Arizona. And then Wake Forest is my 16 seed team. Because I just got this feeling that NC State's going to win that series this weekend in Raleigh between them and the Deacs. And like Wake deserves to host, but like they need to host if they want to win a regional. Yeah. But I don't think they're going to be like as high. What do you have them at 9, 10? I don't think they can get there unless they win a key road series at the end of the year and perform well in the ACC tournament. I think they should host, but I think they're going to be in that 14, 16 range right now. And it's going to be a tough road. If they host at home, I think they have a good, they love playing at the couch, but I think they're going to lose the series this weekend at Raleigh or in Raleigh against NC State. And that's going to hurt their ability to climb into that 9 through 12 range.
So I like them winning that series, making a run in Charlotte. I just think they have been, starting to put it together, and that's only going to.
They're hot. They've won 9 in a row. Yeah, they're red hot.
Yeah, absolutely. I got NC State as a 2. So the schools like NC State, Virginia, those are obviously all 2 seeds for me. UC Irvine is what would be the 17th best team because I've got them playing in the state regional. With
mine's Oklahoma State. Yeah.
Okay. OK State is a 2 seed for me. So I've got, we don't need to read all these out, but I mean, the purpose of this exercise just was to, see how similar or how far off we may be in terms of the number of teams from certain leagues that are getting in. I've got 12 SEC, which you think I'm crazy.
9.
You went with 9. I've got 8 out of the ACC. Georgia Tech is my 8th team that is in.
Yep. I have 8 as well.
I've got them. I've got Georgia Tech as a 3 seed playing in the Knoxville regional. So now we're starting to look at certain matchups.
I have Georgia Tech as a 2 seed playing in the Athens regional.
Okay. Ooh,
give me that Georgia Tech rivalry, baby.
Yeah. I mean, they play a 3-game set. I was trying to avoid that,
Juicy.
I thought
that's the hardest part. That was the hardest part about this whole damn thing is that I had so many teams that were 2 seeds and I couldn't put them in the same conference as another team in another conference. Like all the SC teams I wanted to put together. And I was like, I can't do that. My brain absolutely exploded doing this exercise. I don't know how the guys at D1 do this every single week because it is a train wreck. Mark Etheridge, God bless you. All right. Resident bracketologist at D1 because my brain is on fire.
So you've got, what was it? 30 automatic bids, right?
Yeah.
30 automatic, I believe it was. So,
So
when you go through those lower RPI conferences, the way you do this is you're just putting in the team that's leading the league. That's going to be a 1-bid league. And then when you're seeding them, you want to see, okay, what is the RPI? What you want the worst RPI conferences. Okay. So in this case, the SWAC, which is the worst rated RPI league, has Florida A&M leading the league at this point. I'm slotting them automatically into the Lexington regional for Kentucky, right? Am I doing that the right way? Or not
I think
necessarily?
So, but I actually don't have FAMU winning the SWAC. I have Bethune.
Oh, you're projecting a different team.
Yes.
I'm just taking the team that's in first for all those leagues.
I didn't do that. So I did that for most of them, but I looked at a couple of them closely, and I have Bethune-Cookman getting out of there. And I think I actually also put Bethune. No, I put Bethune-Cookman in the Georgia regional. I originally had them in the Kentucky regional, the Lexington regional, but then I also have Bowling Green coming out of the MAC. And I feel like it makes too much regional sense. You have to put Bowling Green in that regional.
I've got
By the way, I have 10 SEC teams. I should say, I'm sorry, I said I had 9. I have 10 because I have Vanderbilt and Ole Miss getting in.
Yes.
That's my cut line because I think Ole Miss wins the series in Baton Rouge this weekend.
So you don't have Florida or LSU?
Nope.
The 2 teams that played for a national championship last year are both out.
Yep.
Okay. Big 12, you said you had 7 or 6 teams.
I have 6.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
6.
I've got 5.
You have Kansas. Yeah. I have Kansas State and TCU. TCU is debatable for sure. So is K-State. But I didn't have 12 SEC teams coming in, so I had to fill them in elsewhere. And really, I didn't have another conference to draw from. I thought about putting Indiana in the Big 10. I didn't. I know you did. That was a toss-up for me. The Sun Belt could have had a 5th team in James Madison, but I only went with 4.
Who was your 4th?
Louisiana, Troy, Coastal,
you got Coastal
Southern
getting
Miss.
In.
And Southern Miss, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have Coastal? Oh, wow. Okay.
No, not at all.
All right. I have Coastal
So let's look at Coastal. Why? Because of their RPI and the schedule. Because
RPI.
The wins and losses are out there, and they're getting buried in the Sun Belt right now, towards the back end of the standings.
I think they just have enough RPI to get in. They were last 4 in. They were last 4 in last week. Their RPI is 36 right now. I know it dropped 6 spots, but they have the 13th best strength of schedule in the country. They're still 30-21 overall. Like, I get it. They're 5th in the Sun Belt right now, but they have the metrics to be allowed in by the committee.
Yeah, non-conference RPI at 6. That's going to happen because, again, you are in the Carolinas. Strength of schedule out of conference at 4. 36 RPI, as you said, 13 strength. Yeah, I get it. But like the TCU argument, I just think there needs to be a serious evaluation on how you're playing lately, going into the tournament. Now, there's time this weekend and the conference tournament, the following week. So
I agree. I tried to put myself, and you didn't do this, which is fine. I'm glad we took 2 different approaches to this. I tried to put myself in the mind of the committee based off of how we've seen them place teams in years past. They don't always take how have you done at the end of the year, especially when they announce the damn host teams before some of the tournaments are over. Like, we've seen that happen. So, like, what are we doing? So, like, okay. I can't not do that when I know that the committee doesn't take in every single last game before they finalize their teams because they've announced the hosts before the conference tournaments end.
5 Sun Belt. What'd you have in the Pac-12?
4. I had
Arizona, Oregon State, Oregon, Utah.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Same as me. Big 10. You only went Illinois, Nebraska for now.
That's right.
Even out Indiana.
Yep.
Sun Belt, you went 5. That's 1 more than me.
4. I went 4.
Oh, you went 4.
I had Coastal into the JMU. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I got you.
CUSA 2, La Tech, and DBU, American, just East Carolina. Big West, the 2 that we know we're going to get in. The Big East, I had 3, UConn, St. John's, and Xavier. I think you had Georgetown possibly, right? Is that right?
I wrote them down, but I did not slot them in, so I only got 2 into the tournament. I wasn't considering Xavier.
RPI is very good. It's like 27.
And they're playing Oklahoma on Tuesday.
Yes. And then the CAA, we both had the same 3.
Okay.
So we only differed, I think, on 7 teams in total in our brackets, and then we only differed on 2 hosts. So we ultimately we came up with pretty much the same field. But a fun exercise, one that absolutely made my brain melt into itself. And I never want to do it again.
Do you have a favorite region of the 16? And then we'll give dude hat tips, STAs.
I think I do. Oh man, that's a great. Oh, let me take a look. I have a really fun regional one that is UC Irvine, Arizona, Grand Canyon, and Fresno State. I think that'll be an extremely interesting one. In addition to that, you've got one in East Carolina, Duke, UNCW, and UNCG.
Yeah, you did stay really regional and geographical, which I know. I know.
So my favorite one, though, is I'm looking over all these. My favorite one is the Wake Forest Regional because I have Oklahoma State, I have Vanderbilt, and I have High Point. And I think that's a super fun regional.
That is really good. That's loaded. That's electric.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if this would play out just because of the regional aspect of it, but with LSU getting in, I've got them as a 3 seed going to Tucson. Jay Johnson and LSU returning to Arizona as a 3 to play at the top seed of Wildcats. The 2 seed is the Gauchos, UCSB.
Oh, we're going to want to be hosting.
And the 4 seed is Who's Your Daddy in IU.
Wow. Oh, man. And Indiana will be annoyed if they get rated as a 4 seed.
Yes, they will. Yeah. Because I was scrambling for teams and I kept trying to move them in and out. You're using placeholders.
I picked all my teams that I was for sure was going to get in, and I had 59. And I was like, fuck, I need 5 more teams. And I just plucked them and put them in. Oh my God.
Okay, let's run through the games to watch in the midweek, if they even matter, if they're even played, and then we'll hit our dudes, hat tips, SDAs. Campbell at ECU, we'll see rain getting poured across the Carolinas, North Carolina especially here overnight on Monday as we record into Tuesday. So the game at Duke between College of Charleston, the Blue Devils, that could be up in the air as well. Wright State at Kentucky. These are the ones I noticed. Yeah.
Why are we playing that?
Well, that's a cool.
Cancel it.
I mean, Wright State's the rising leader, but yeah.
I have them in the Terre Haute Regional, by the way.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't know where mine is. Oh,
my Alabama and Illinois.
My Indiana State Regional features UC Irvine as the 2, Ole Miss
and Wright State.
3, and Wright State.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, we agreed on that one.
Yeah.
All right.
Ole Miss at Southern Miss. That's Tuesday night. Florida State at Stetson. Stetson currently, if they're not leading, they're second best team right now in the ASUN. I looked at it earlier. I can't recall offhand, but one of the top teams, certainly capable of getting into the tournament. FSU on the road, not having to play Dick Hauser as they figure out the stadium situation. We'll see if they play at home this weekend after the tornado that ripped through on Friday. So those are the ones that stood out to me. UNC Wilmington. I didn't mention that one either. So,
by the way, Austin P is leading the ASUN. We both have them projected into the AQ.
Yeah. Okay.
For the ASUN. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I didn't even look at the midweek lineup because whatever. Like I'm really excited for the weekend. Like that's going to be a fun lineup card that we'll detail for you on Thursday. But I would cancel all your midweeks this week. Why are we playing midweeks? Like we don't need it. You have an abbreviated week off, and then you have the freaking tournament coming up. You got to rest a little bit. Like give your guys a couple of days. They've earned it. Like West Virginia canned that game, by the way. They're not playing the 14th. That TBA gone.
Gotcha.
I knew it would happen. So like what are we doing? Why are we playing this game? You don't need to. I get it. Like your team does not need reps right now. Your team needs rest. Everybody's hurt. Let them rest up for a big weekend coming up.
Did you see Missouri State's leaving for CUSA starting next year?
I did.
Okay.
And 2 other teams are going to the West Coast Conference, right? Is that what I saw?
I didn't see that one.
There's minimal movement going on, but there's a couple teams that are sprinkling around. I saw that. I mean, good for Missouri State.
Yeah. Well, Missouri State played Arkansas earlier this year, back-to-back games in Fayetteville. Arkansas won both of those, and that's where I want to go for my social display of affection for Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, belated to all the moms out there. Certainly mine, in heaven. Think about you every day, Mom, but, Mother's Day is certainly hard. Any holiday, any birthday, when your loved ones are passed, you don't have to tell me, you don't have to tell anyone how difficult it can be. We all suffer through that in some form or fashion, but I know there's plenty of OGs and MVPs out there still kicking and doing their thing. So Arkansas, what they did to celebrate the moms was when the lineup card was introduced through social media, they put so-and-so's son. So like Dave Van Horn, his mother, her name is Carolyn. So instead of from the desk of DVH, when they do the graphic with 1 through 9 and then where they're playing in the field, it was from the desk of Carolyn's son. And then it would continue to put each of the starting players and their mom's names, so-and-so son, 1 through 9, where they're playing in the field. Not only that, after, so awesome. Love the social display of affection for Mom. Maybe no better display of affection all year than that this past Sunday for Mother's Day that Arkansas did. But on top of that, the moms came out and ran the bases with them after the game. And they put videos of that on social media as well. So I thought that was sweet.
Yes. No, that was great. SDAs for me go to two things. One, to our good friend Joe Healy, friend of the program, who was in Founders Park on Thursday when the South Carolina video board unfortunately had a dim panel, and it made every hitter look like it was going to have a goatee. They had a goatee, a dyed black goatee. And I'm showing the picture on the pod right now. I don't know if it can come in clearly. But yeah, now you can see it. You got everybody's got a dyed black goatee. Yeah. And Joe Healy tweeted a picture of it, and it is phenomenal. So hilarity in Columbia, probably the most lighthearted moment of the weekend for Gamecocks fans as they got swept by Georgia. And then another social display of affection goes to the Tulane social media team this weekend because they put out some amazing troll tweets of East Carolina. My favorite was after they won game 2 and won the series, they tweeted, "The seas are sunk in Uptown," or "Seas are rough uptown," and posted a picture of a pirate ship getting sunk with the 2 final scores of Tulane beating ECU in the first 2 games of the series. So SDA to the Tulane social media team for truly going above and beyond this weekend in the sweep of East Carolina.
Hat tip goes to Bark at the Park Dogs, just being at baseball games in general, but specifically at Utah. I don't know if you saw this. Arizona's Mason White hit 2 home runs in, I think it was the middle game, because, Arizona dropped game 1 to Utah and Bryson Van Sickle. But then the Wildcats came back, won the final 2 in Salt Lake City. And Mason White, one of his 2 home runs, went over the wall into one of the gaps. I think it was deep left center. And some of the couple of the dogs that were out there, was a golden retriever that actually ran down to go pick up the ball. And it was like, hell yeah, man. Like, such a good boy going to get the baseball. So
love that.
Absolutely love it. Man's best friend. Hayes wouldn't act that way, but he's a lazy old gray-haired stallion of SOB, and I love him to death. He's laying at my feet right now at home while we podcast. By the way, I'm not wearing any pants, so the couple of times that I've gotten up, I really have tried to keep my waist below the StreamYard video feed, but no pants are on.
Pantsless podcast.
I'll allow you to comment.
Can I take my pants off?
You can. Pants off, dance off, man.
All right.
I mean, you're at home too. I mean, why not? I don't know why you don't already have them all. I mean, I'm drinking ginger ale.
I mean, they're off now.
I'm drinking ginger ale in a mug that says "Coolest Dad in the Galaxy," and I'm pantsless with a
great mug.
Slugger bird on the bill of my brim.
You want my hat tips?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I have 2. First one, remember Jackson Brockett, the guy who threw the no-hitter for Nebraska?
Yeah, Nebraska, yes.
Yeah, first one since 1954 when Richard Geyer had one against the Kansas Jayhawks. Well, guess what? Those 2 met. They met up in person and talked after, Nebraska tweeted this out, that he got to meet him from Lincoln, talked about the game, life, 2 were linked in the annals of Nebraska baseball history, and they posted a couple pictures. They got to meet up and break bread together. So I thought I just wanted to do a hat tip to Nebraska for doing that. I think that's a really cool moment. I mean, think about it. You throw a no-hitter 70 years apart. You don't expect to meet the guy who threw the no-hitter. And lo and behold, Jackson Brockett, Richard Geyer come together, sit at the table, discuss all things Nebraska and life in general. Well done. Speaking of Nebraska, I was watching the Indiana-Nebraska game, game 3 on Sunday, and the announcers brought up something that I thought was very unique and something that I hadn't heard had been done before. But you know what ChatGPT is, right? Like the AI software.
Sure.
So ChatGPT is like this AI software that basically like you can type something in and like ask it a question and it like answers it for you. It's artificial intelligence. So apparently, I don't know. I think a couple coaches have tried to input their team's stats into ChatGPT and ask it to create the optimal run production lineup. And it's done it.
What is this, Moneyball?
Like they've put in hitters and their stats and say, take all these stats and tell me what my best optimal lineup is for run production. And ChatGPT spits out a lineup for them.
Well, all you got to do is turn on Moneyball and listen to Brad Pitt. Mr. Billy Bean himself. Get on base, okay? Just get on base. And AI knows this. This is incredible.
Yes.
This is awesome.
Yes. Incredible stuff. I don't know how many people have done that, but they mentioned it on the Indiana-Nebraska telecast on the Big Ten Network. So I wanted to bring it up because I thought that was really cool.
I need that for like my golf game. I wonder if there's like AI, what club to use in this situation, or it's got like your distances calibrated. By the way, I got out on Friday. I played 5 holes.
I did too.
I know you played an entire round though, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah, you played a round. I had like an hour and a half. I hit a small bucket on the range. Got 5 holes in before I picked up pudge. I spent like 3 hours at the gym. So I didn't have enough time. That took away from my golf. I thought I could get 9. I couldn't. Anyways, I was dialed in, bro. First swing since November. Dude, I was dialed in. Dude, the range was awesome. I get out there on the track. Sure, I hooked my first 2 drives, but like 120 yards in, not that big of an issue. Like I'm not landing it down the green, but I'm, just off by a hair or 2. The putting felt good. Short game felt good. I think I'm ready to get back out there, with you. So I was playing scared this past week. It was Mother's Day, man. I had to buy the ex-wife a gift. So, I only got so much dough these days. But yeah, dialed in. Okay, here's my dude, and then you provide yours. Let's get the hell out of here. Ike Mizanga of Minnesota. Ike Mizanga. Know the name.
Looking him up. Yep, looking him up.
Big Ten Player of the Week.
Okay.
First gopher to be named Big Ten Player of the Week since 2018. But here's what he did in a series against Michigan State, which is notable because in Game 3, Mizanga scored on a walk-off home run that enabled Minnesota to correct a 12-2 deficit against Michigan State and win 15-12. Okay?
What?
But Mizanga's numbers on the weekend, just an insane epic comeback, one of historic proportions. Mizanga went 429 on the weekend, 6 hits, 3 of which were home runs. He had 6 RBIs and 6 runs scored, but he scored on what was a walk-off home run off the bat of Drew Birkland on an 0-2 count. Hit his 4th home run of the season to give the Gophers a 15-12 win.
Oh my goodness, Michigan State! You hate to see it.
And did you see the score? Look at the score of the game before the middle game. Like Michigan State, what are we doing?
Let's see here. Let's pull it up. The Minnesota. I have not been to the Minnesota baseball schedule ever. I can firmly say that.
Come on, man. John Anderson. Throw some respect on his name. That was his last game at home. The legendary John
21-3. Yeah. Oh.
So then you're able to get up 12-2 and you blow it.
You blow it. Oh no.
No, John Anderson. We talked about him on the pod a little bit a couple of years ago. It might have been before you took over as a co-host during the Cerber days. But John Anderson, 1,365 career wins entering the season at Minnesota. So I don't know how many he's at now. I mean, he's still under 1,400 because Minnesota's not a tournament team, but more than 1,300 wins. That's the most in the history of the Big Ten Conference. Ranks second among all active Division I head baseball coaches. That would be second behind Dave Van Horn. I believe would be my guess. No, DVH is no. He just got to 1,200.
Yeah, 23rd coach ever. Yeah.
Yes. Who is ahead of each of that? Either way, Anderson is at second all time, so he's retiring. This is his final game, final home game, and the team completes a comeback where they correct a 12-2 deficit to win 15-12. So good for John Anderson.
Danny Hall, by the way, Georgia Tech.
That's right. I was either going to go him or who's our coach at Virginia? I always forget his name.
Oh my goodness. What is his name? Actually, wait, this is articles from 2 years ago. Danny Hall might not be right anymore. Jesus. Why can't I remember the Virginia head coach?
It's late, man.
This is I'm gonna be so mad when this pops up. Anyways, as you look, it's Brian something, exactly. I just can't remember the actual last name. Anyways, my dude, Ryan Johnson of Dallas Baptist, first pitcher in DBU D1 history to reach 300 career strikeouts. Did it over the weekend, and he also set the single season strikeout record with 137 punchies. So Ryan Johnson, my dude of the week.
put him on the all Schass squad because he was referenced earlier this year, and there's something about his very violent, herky-jerky delivery that I just absolutely love. And he puts up amazing numbers. So
he has been so added.
Mr. Johnson, come on down because I need another starter.
Yeah, he's our second starter, third pitcher. If you don't include Cags, not including Cags, he's our third pitcher because you got Grant Knipp, who's a reliever, but our second true starter. So you could have Cags as the third starter because you got Condon, he can play him at first. So
yeah, Brian O'Connor for Virginia.
God,
I knew
I'd hate myself. Yeah, I knew that. Okay. All right, that's a podcast. Let's go to sleep.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna stay up and probably gonna throw a lap dance in my mouth. So I'm a little Copenhagen. I need to chill. I need to relax. Watch a little TV. So I'll see you tomorrow, though, man. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers 3D back on Thursday. Bye.